Hey, this is Nathan, Psychic Medium. This is a lunar reading for the new moon in Aries on the 21st of March 2023. I am not an astrologer, so I do my readings in connection with spirit. So they're spirit guided messages for all of us, and they will cover us for this following new moon period and the energy that we may be experiencing over that period. Okay, so the initial impression I'm getting around this new moon is there is a quality of stillness and not a lot happening on the surface, but for a lot of us, we might feel behind closed doors that there is a lot of energy bubbling up underneath the surface, a lot going on underneath there, almost as though there are things in the starting gates, there are things ready to take off, but also not just things that you want to begin, but new chapters in relationships, new situations that are shifting for you in your life, in regards to your social connections, in regards to how you're perceiving your life, in regards to how you're feeling about life at the moment. It's almost as though there's all these kinds of this kind of build up behind closed doors of your sense of self, of your own personality, what you're not sort of expressing outwardly so much right now. And it's kind of like bubbling away as a sort of tension underneath there, and it feels also as though there's this need to make some sort of change in regards to the rest of the year that's coming. So it's as though you're wanting to get prepared for the summer. It's as though we can feel this sort of burgeoning energy that comes along with the arrival of spring and summer, and it's like we can sort of feel that the energy is growing in the world, in the air, as things become more green, as things are growing, as things become more rich and more vibrant, as things become hotter. There's almost like this awareness of a growing sense of energy, and it's like wanting to get going, wanting to make sure that I've got everything in order so that I'm going to have a good holiday this summer, so that I'm able to pay for things and do things when the weather gets hotter. It's almost as though we're sort of quite conscious about bringing a bit more joy and happiness into our lives right now, and at the same time as some of us might be feeling a momentum with that and feeling like we're sort of excited and looking forward to some things going on moving forwards. There's also this sense of some of us feeling like an overwhelm of fear of missing out, or an anxiety about not being able to give yourself social experiences that you're wanting to give yourself, or this sort of worry of not being able to stick to the plans that you've made for yourself for the new year, or worrying about sort of summer lows and sort of things coming up that kind of disrupt the intentions that you've got for any goals that you want to meet, any social goals that you have, and also anything that you're wanting to start, like new classes and new directions in your life. It's almost as though this new moon is bringing all of that into our awareness and bringing like a sense of, I want to go forwards with all of these things. I can feel this sense of new starts, a new cycle, the year ahead, making sure I want to stick to resolutions, making sure I want to stick to my own personal goals. But then there's also a stress behind that of life is quite tough right now, and I'm finding it quite difficult to manage life, and sometimes I'm making plans for things and they're just going tits up basically. And it's almost as though this new moon energy is shrouding just how much tension there is behind that, and the next full moon is going to really bring that to the surface, but right now it's kind of just bubbling away underneath, and we can just sort of feel this subtle sense of disgruntledness, maybe not disgruntledness, sorry, discomfort, or this sense of like we're almost disgruntled before plans have even failed, and it's like there's also this feeling of hope, but hoping that we don't get let down, hoping that our hopes aren't destroyed. We don't want to get our hopes up, maybe some of us. So that energy can be quite difficult to navigate, and the initial sort of sensation I feel around coping with that energy and getting through this is just making sure that we're going slower and making sure that we're actually sticking to the day and not being too plugged into the long-term future in a way where it's making us enslaved to the day. So having a vision for the future, being happy with now and eager for more, so happy with how you've got your plan set up for the more, but then just kind of trusting that everything that you've got set up right now is hedging you towards that, and that you will get an alarm bell from your own intuition or a signal from life as a sign or some sort of prompt to kind of course correct or check in with what you're doing and where you're going. So it's really about slowing down and coming back to just the power that you have in the now to create what you want in the future, and just capitalizing on the day at hand and making sure that the small actions and decisions that you're making right now on a day-to-day basis in this period of time, those small actions and decisions, if they're favourable and in alignment with your best interests and your heart's desires, they are setting up that scaffold for, you know, a future structure of great fulfillment for you in times to come in the rest of the year. There is also a frustrated energy with this new moon. It's almost a moody energy. It's almost as though people are kind of digging their heels in, almost as though they're ready to take off, but it feels quite insular. It feels as though we're kind of shutting away a little bit, and we're feeling a little bit like, oh, just really want to get this sorted. I really want to get on with this, whatever that is. It could be a change in your career, it could be a change in your circumstances, it could be, you know, because, you know, that's what we're constantly working on, isn't it, our lives? So it's always going to be about some sort of change, but it feels like it's really kind of like a personal goal where it's almost as though we're, you know, we're on this mission, and we don't really kind of feel that invested in bringing everyone along with us. Not that we're shutting everybody out or that we're saying goodbye. It's almost as though we're just wanting to be really selfish right now, and obviously that could come from that sort of Aries energy of wanting to kind of put ourselves first. But this energy around this time is also it's also guiding us to make sure that we're keeping lines of communication open, and that we're not allowing that internal sense of frustration to build up from where we're so determined to make a breakthrough in something, or to commit to something, or maintain something, or to you know, build something, that we're making sure that that determination doesn't become a frustration in the sense of just becoming antisocial, or becoming aggressive, or becoming a bit sort of you know, difficult to be around, and also making sure that it's not internalizing that frustration into a sense of, you know, self-criticism and beating ourselves up, and putting too much pressure on ourselves at this time. The energy right now is really crippling. It's crippling for a lot of us, and it is important to keep up projects. It's important to keep busy. It's important as well if there are things right now that are feeling a bit dead or a bit stagnant, they're not going to give you any new energy. It's kind of life telling you that, okay, you just need to move on and let go of this, and making sure that you're not being impulsive and jumping into something just for the sake of change, but that you really are listening to yourself and what you need, and deciding to make a change based on that realization of what's best for you, what is better for you, what's an improvement for you, and then just going for it. Because it does feel like there's a sense of dropping dead weight with relationships. It does also feel like dropping dead weight with old patterns of behavior. It also feels like dropping dead weight with old jobs, and just old plans that we've had for our circumstances and our paths ahead. It's like we're wanting to sort of remap the future for ourselves right now, and the energy is favourable for this, and it does also feel as though being kind of conscious at this time and plugging into ourselves and keeping lines of communication along the way helps us to stay a little bit more secure and sure-footed and certain about where we're going, so that we're not becoming too over-determined to the point where we're becoming desperate or frustrated, and shutting people out and becoming a bit sort of one-dimensional, and self-absorbed in that sense. This crippling emotional energy that's kind of coursing through the planet right now, it is helped, and we can help stave this off and find a bit of ease from this by committing to our own projects and our own passions and our life purpose. But for some of us, this isn't possible right now, for whatever reason, and so Spirit's kind of giving an arm of of comfort, is given like a helping hand there, putting an arm around the world there, just to sort of say that there is it's valid. It is tough. It's not necessarily as easy as someone says that it is. Just go and do X, Y, and Z, and this would be much better, and this would be more improved, and the energy would be better. Spirit's not clueless to how intense things can be for us, and they're wanting to bring attention to our physical bodies, our nervous systems, and our brains, and our minds, and what we're feeding ourselves in terms of our mental nourishment, our psychological nourishment, but also our physical nourishment, and how a lot of that is kind of coming hand in hand with the heavy emotions that we're feeling, and also how that's ending up in physical entanglements where we are not necessarily looking after ourselves as best as we could, some of us, or maybe even if we are, where we're being too extreme in our routine, and we're almost in a fight with life to try and keep up our well-being rather than just enjoying the flow of that. And if we're in those kinds of spaces, that does lead to a lower state of being, but it also leads to physical entanglements where we're eliciting sides from people that aren't their best selves, and we're not presenting our best selves, and it just kind of grays our reality. It makes things murkier, and so whenever we can, we're needing to add in brightness. And with that, I'm seeing just whole foods and bright vegetables and fruits and lovely meals, and also just brighter times where we're just trying to be a bit proactive and conscious of how we're spending our time with people, and making it a bit lighter, and trying to find opportunities where we can add in more laughter and more humor, and not make things so much about just the mission of life right now, because life isn't a problem to be solved, it's a reality to be experienced, and life isn't a mission either. And I know we hear the words life purpose, which gives us this human sense of you've got a job to do, and when you're done, pat on the back. But really it's just about you being in flow of who you came here to be, what your essence is, what you're about, and feeling into your passions and your enjoyments that you've realized you have in life, and then pursuing that. And that does sort of then ultimately become your sense of purpose, doesn't it? So that's really what it's about. It's not really about making life this this pilgrimage, of struggle to attain happiness. It's not about the pursuit of happiness. It's not about the pursuit of anything. It's like that phrase, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to achieve. It's just about being here, and in that being, finding joy in that being. And I have experienced this before, and there's so much that comes from that. There's so much that unfolds and blossoms from that, in terms of what materializes in life, and what comes forth from you creatively, and what you draw forth from others. So it's not just about being in this state of being in a catatonic state of blissfulness and just not really doing a lot. It really is a shift in our consciousness. It really is about us coming to understand that life is something that we can come in harmony with, come in rhythm with. And there's a lot of energy coming forth in this new moon to remind us of this. And yeah, we're not necessarily going to attain that perfect state of being, or a perfect state of flow this new moon, but we could certainly gain glimpses of it, So yeah, that's the message for this new moon. and I hope you're all well. And subscribe if you want to hear from me for future lunar readings and other posts. And yeah, take care.